Hi guys, welcome to a business talk with the podcast designed to showcase Portsmouth's best businesses and people behind them. Today I'm joined by Stu and Pete from Serenity Digital. Guys, hello.
Hi.
Hi.
Thank you for having us.
No, you're welcome. How are you both doing?
Good, thank you.
Good. So look, there's a lot I want to go through today with you guys. I know we've spoken a little bit before and the structure behind it. I think we'll unpack a lot around your guys' journey and where you've been, what your challenges have been, what your biggest wins have been as well, and then try and almost debunk some of the marketing myths which might help some of the listeners out there that might be struggling with it. So should we kick off then? Just give us a little bit of background about Serenity Digital itself.
Okay, so we're a marketing consultancy, so we've been around for just over 13 years now. We're a team of 15, so Pete and I run the business, and we have some distinct teams within the business, so kind of technical and what we call growth marketing services. Our client size is anything really, so we work with kind of startups through to small to medium business, and we've got a few corporate clients as well.
Okay, and what is it which initially got you guys to start the business?
Hopefully liking each other. That was a good start. We came from a background of employee communications, working with some big sort of FTSE 250 companies at a previous employer, which I must say we both really enjoyed working at, gave us some really good sort of grounding knowledge of consultancy and helped with the sort of design of the sort of business that we wanted to run, which was great, got on really, really well. But I think there was an extent to which we felt we were kind of repeating the same projects over and over again and didn't see that really changing, so wanted to get out and do our own thing. So that's kind of how it came about really, wasn't it, before we started the business.
Yeah, and how was it taking that first step?
I think it was kind of a measured first step, I think, because you're both in jobs that paid well at the time and you were broadly happy, and I think you kind of came to me, didn't you, with the idea. We'd got on really well, and we thought, well, why don't we give it a go? I think you left initially to start the business, and I was kind of working kind of, in the evenings and weekends and that kind of stuff. And from there, it was just a measured approach to sort of when could I join Pete full time. And thankfully, when I left our previous employer, they needed me for a bit longer. So I kind of became a consultant from our business to their business, which kind of helped finance us a little bit, didn't it? And then naturally, probably when most people start a business, they look around their friends and family kind of circle to sort of see if there's any clients in there. And we both had a few that we could tap up and have a conversation with, and that was our kind of first few clients. And that's kind of where it went, and we started building, because the business started just with websites primarily, so we were just pushing out websites, and you were kind of one after the other. Now we need another one, and it's just kind of grown very organically, very slowly from there.
And I think actually that probably made the beginning of Serenity more difficult than it needed to be, because we did shun our past network, so we didn't want to be in contact with any individuals from past clients or anything like that. It was an industry that we didn't really want to work in anymore, even though it was quite a high-end service that was being provided.
Why do you think that was?
I think there was a degree to which we valued the relationship that we had with our past employers. We didn't want to be seen to be attempting to pilfer or steal, anything like that. We were incredibly grateful for the opportunities that we had there, and we didn't want that to come across as though we weren't. And I think it was also about wanting to know that you've done everything off of your own back.
Okay, I'll get that,
So we created the opportunities which we found. We did a lot of networking early on, didn't we? Lots of fun breakfast meetings and things like that, getting up at the crack of dawn and going to have bacon when you don't really like bacon, stuff like that. But
tough life.
I think the nice thing is that while there are lots of clients that you work with that you bring on, and they're not necessarily in the early days work that you would have initially thought you were seeking, some of those clients have been with us for 13 years, you know, and they're the biggest advocates of the brand, you know, and we wouldn't be where we are without them.
Right, so what do you think when you first started, what was the goal? What sort of work did you think you wanted to be doing?
It was web development, right?
Was it?
It was
I
web
mean,
development.
you were a web designer, I
Yeah.
was a web developer, so that those two skill sets kind of complement one another.
Yeah.
And I think from there, it was just like, well, let's just build websites for people and see where it goes. And that really is where it started, wasn't it?
It
And we
did,
wanted
yeah.
to work for ourselves. We knew that much. We wanted to bring that same level of service that we had at our previous employer to the kind of the SME market. They were consultants. They were very good at like the customer service and looking after people and listening to them. And I think we wanted to kind of do that, but on our own.
Right.
And that's kind of where it began, and it grew organically from there.
So you mentioned a second ago that you felt like you were doing the same old work with your old employer. Was diversification of client base important for you when you went out?
Yeah, absolutely. And we were quite lucky, actually, I think, because I'd say around sort of 2017, something like that, that was a point at which we realised that we needed to diversify our service set as well, because we got to that stage where you're kind of like that you need to go out and catch and kill a client. You keep doing that process over and over again, because once we reached the point at which a website launched, my and Stu's talents were essentially, you know, they were kind of somewhat over, so we needed to bring additional talent into the team, people who were skilled in different areas that would give us a broader service base. But diversifying industries that we worked with really helped us when it came to some of the challenges in future, particularly when we got to COVID.
So you mentioned there about in the early stages having to chase the work. Does it still feel like that to you guys now, or was there a moment in your journey where it sort of switched and you don't necessarily feel like you're having to chase the next customer?
There's still a bit of both, because we do still want growth within the company. Yeah. So we initially had this idea of growing the company to about, broadly speaking, about the size it is now, about 15 members of the team. And then, of course, you think that that's going to be that panacea point where the challenges that you have when you're a micro business won't be there anymore, because you have a larger team. But that larger team requires additional things that you don't need when you're a micro business. Yeah. So we're at that stage where we're putting in that management level. They've been with us now for 18 months as managers in the teams, and they're doing an incredible job. But you create additional complexities. So we now know that we do need to grow up another level, and we need that as additional resilience within the team.
Right. Okay. So let's just stay in the early part of the journey then. Talk to me about your guys' journey. You say you're 15 staff now. Talk to me about the growth or the journey to the first 5 members of staff. Say that in those early days when you may be unsure whether you're ready to bring on team, is it the right time? Just talk me through that part of the journey.
I guess the first sort of 5 were going to be the person who is our head of technical now, is James. He came to us, we approached him. He actually worked at our previous employer as well. So we had a good rapport with him. He was working for a charity at the time, wasn't it?
Yep.
And we went to a pub together, had a conversation. We knew he had the right work ethic and skill set for what we were after. And we offered him a role, and he took us up on it, and he's been with us ever since. Brilliant. So very grateful for him continuing to stay with us and believe in us. After that, it was just kind of more natural growth around what we needed. And I think the 2 people that I think came next were a web developer and also a copywriter. So kind of going back to what Pete was saying a moment ago about we've expanded our services, because what we didn't want to keep doing was we need a website and now we need another website. We wanted to find services that kind of flatten the monthly kind of revenue that we've got. So it was a case of we don't want it to be ups and downs. We want it to be a bit more flat. So adding services that are retained services, things like copywriting, or now we have like advertising and SEO and those other kind of services that go hand in hand. It started with copywriting, and it was launch a website, have a client need you to do blog posts and blogs for the website, have maybe social media, have copy for the website written, fill the website with copy if they can't do it themselves. So we hired someone to do that bit for us. So they were probably like our first 5, and we always had a good amount. We're quite good at selling the development work, weren't we, and building websites. So I think we always had more website and development work. So that's kind of why we hired another developer as one of our earlier hires as well.
I think we landed at a really good time as well. I mean, we go back far enough that sadly we remember when everything moved on to mobile.
Right.
You know, so when I first started doing web design, it, much like print design, you just had like one common screen size. So building a website was quite straightforward because everybody was essentially seeing the same thing. Of course, we don't live in that world anymore. We were lucky enough to be at that moment where we got in ahead of time, and we were working with a lot of businesses to help them upgrade their website, essentially make their website responsive. And so that definitely that was an easy opportunity, an easy introduction. We need to help you. You've got a website that loads of people obviously can't see on mobiles, tablets, etc. So that gave us an in. And of course, the website, as everybody knows, it's the shop window.
Yeah.
And all of the other services that we now offer, you don't do any of those things unless you are happy with your website. Your website has to function. It has to pitch your organisation exactly the way that you expect it to. It needs to minimise that communication gap so that what users interact with, what your audience interacts with, is what they're going to get when they work with you. And it's worthwhile saying that most of our customers are B2B customers.
Okay.
So yeah, I think that was a good time for us because it gave us that in. That's not so much the case anymore because most people do have responsive websites. So now you're looking at other avenues, other ways. We've obviously got the onset of AI. These things are changing the industry.
And how much of an impact do you see AI having, one, on your industry? Let's start there, but then we'll go onto your customers and businesses as well. What impact do you think it's going to have on Serenity?
I think we're seeing some of it, I guess, already, where some of the tasks that people are doing could be done by AI.
Yeah.
But I think, as most people find, there's a level to how good it is at the moment. And I think a lot of it comes a little bit unstuck, I guess, where the quality of what you receive out of it isn't necessarily what you want. So there's a bit of that. Obviously, there's a whole load of automation that can be done and those sorts of things. But I still think people are kind of finding their feet with that. I'd say we're using it in our business a bit, and we've tried it for coding, and we've tried it for content, and we've tried it for kind of, working with data and all that kind of stuff. And there are things that it does quite well, but there are also things that it's probably quicker to not use it, with the amount of time you spend prompting it and trying to get it right. So I still feel like we're probably a couple of years away from it becoming more of a problem.
Yeah.
But
When you say problem?
that you might find that some of the roles that we have today may well be affected by that.
Okay.
But, that's not to say that the roles don't pivot in some way, where you might just need to still do the role, but perhaps you just need to be quite good at using AI and prompting it. But we're not really sure how that's going to kind of pan out yet. And I feel like the world doesn't really know the answer to that yet. We've had an influx of all these brand new tools that build websites and save time. But like with when you install a theme on a website that you've built yourself, you get so far and then you go, I'm a bit stuck now. It doesn't really look how I want it to look, or the button's not really sat where I want it to sit. And you get those sorts of same issues generally when using AI as well. It kind of like can go 80-90%, but there's that bit at the end where you're just not really happy with it, and then you're like, well, I might try another tool and see if that one does it a bit better. So there's a bit of that as well. So but we're playing with it, as any business should be playing with it, and just seeing what it can do.
I think everyone needs to be on the bus in some capacity, don't they? Obviously, I don't think anybody has a real clear understanding of where it's going, how it's going to affect them, what the difference between human and tech is going to look like in the future. But I think everybody needs to start at least adopting it in some way, or at least doing some sort of learning around it. We use it in our business mainly we use it to write a lot of copy, like a lot of people do, but then obviously we go back and make sure it's fitting, it's our tone of voice, it's who we are as people, that we're still coming through as people and organisation. From those levels, I think it's brilliant at the moment. I think we're not getting too many questions really from our clients around how they can massively shift using it. Do you get a lot of questions from your clients around AI or how they can use it or whether they need to be using it?
Yeah, we do. I mean, we've got clients that we're working with in a consultative capacity already. I think AI, just going back onto the previous question as well, I think it's really helped us hone exactly why we want to be different. Because
Right.
I think AI, when it first started to make a significant amount of noise across all industries,
Yeah.
I think there was this initial kind of worry and concern. I'm certainly someone who's probably not as stoic as I should be. I worry about the things I can't control.
Yeah.
So I'm sat there like, what effect is this going to have on our business? This is huge. You know, are we going to be in a situation where we are losing out to competitors who have adopted it quicker, faster, better, whatever it might be? So what that's allowed us to do is hone exactly what we do want to offer, and what we want to offer is the people first approach.
Right.
You can't do that with AI. You just can't do it.
No.
We want to be in the room. We want to be face to face. We want to be looking people in the eye. We want to empathize. We want to listen to their problems. They're humans, they're people, they have issues. And a lot of the time we can help them. And I think it's also allowed us to focus on 3 particular problem areas that a lot of our clients struggle with, but generally won't find one provider who can support them with. So we not only do we do the marketing piece, which has been the lion's share of what we've been doing over the last 13 years, but certainly over the last couple of years, we've focused a lot more on how we can help you run your business more efficiently. So how you can save costs, how you can save time, how you can help people in their roles. These are operational challenges that lots of companies struggle with, and a lot of the time they're using off-the-shelf tools that they're either paying vast amounts for and only getting 10% of the value out of, or they just don't really understand all of the features that they can use. So building custom software, or looking at large language models that can help businesses do things quicker. And then that third item is then looking at real on the books value, things that an accountant might look at and say, well, that's going to increase the value of your business, whether that is a product or whether it's helping with intellectual property and branding. These are all things that I think business owners, much like ourselves, would care about. So rather than just being a marketing consultancy, which is where our previous 11 years had come from, I think AI has probably made us focus far more on where we need to be in future and how we can differentiate ourselves from organisations who just lean a little bit too heavily. And certainly into something that is far from perfect. I mean, to be honest, it scares the bejesus out.
I think it does a lot of people, and I think we can resonate quite a lot with the people first approach, because given the work that we do, there's never been a time in history really where there's so much free resource for education and knowledge available for people. There's YouTube videos, there's ChatGPT, there's so many different platforms that people can go to for knowledge in its sort of rawest form. But I think where we're really starting to focus now, very similar to what you were saying, is AI can't sit across the table from you and hold you truly accountable to do stuff. They can't be a true sounding board for either issues that you've got or ideas that you have. They can give you a structured response for the pros and cons of each, but actually from an emotional level, actually having somebody across the table from you sit there and be that support for you, I think is where the human element of it is really the focus for us, more importantly. So AI is obviously something that's a skill which you've had to learn and you've had to adopt. If you think about the early years, what were some of the biggest skills which you found out you had to adopt pretty quickly when it came to running a business?
Oh, that's a difficult one. I mean, HR is always obviously a big one. People management, as soon as you start bringing people into the team, that's obviously a big challenge. And then, the financial side of running a business, that also goes without saying. Thankfully, I think Stu and I have got without sounding too cheesy, wonderfully complementary skills.
Good.
You know, I think there's a reason why we've been working together as long as we have.
Yeah.
Stu's incredibly technically minded, which from my perspective is just a blessing because I don't want to be anywhere near it. And there are, you know, in the best part of 13 years, I can count on one hand the number of times that Stu hasn't been on holiday and hasn't had to do something.
Right.
You know, it's very, very rare that he can go more than a week without there being something that requires him to break out the laptop.
Right.
And that's a shame, you know, and we're getting there, you know, we've got the people in place to help with that, but I'd like that to be far less often.
Yeah. How does that feel for you guys when you are on holiday and you've got to crack out the laptop? What's it?
I don't think it's as bad as it used to be. I think as we've grown the team, resilience has come in, and we're making changes at the moment that probably adds more resilience as well. It's not the best when you're on holiday. I mean, even carting your work laptop around on holiday is, even if you don't use it, it's just kind of like, well, I've got to bring my laptop with me, and you know, I need to make sure I've got my phone with me just in case Pete messages me and says, oh, this is not working or whatever. So there's a bit of that, but I don't think it's as much of a requirement as it used to be.
Right.
I don't think. I've been on holiday a few times, you know, over the last
You've
year.
been on holiday loads.
I've been on holiday.
Which is testament in itself.
Yeah,
and I've
it
not
is.
taken my laptop with me, so
Yeah.
I think, you know, there is that. So things have definitely gone in the right direction.
Good.
But it's just one of those things, isn't it? When you're the only person that knows how to do certain things, you become a bit of a bottleneck to it. And the goal when you're growing a business is to kind of remove those bottlenecks, because it's very easy for both of us to always be in control of certain things, and that's not good for the growth of the business. It's not good for the people inside it, and we've worked hard to try and eliminate those as best as we can.
Yeah.
Sorry, and it's one thing when you start the business, you're setting up one web server for your own website, your first few clients, that's one thing. But then when you've got 12, 13, 14 servers running in a London data centre, all with slightly varying different setups, backups into Ireland. You know, we've got one server running in the US for a US client. That's obviously a level of burden that Stu's predominantly owned over the years. It's not to say that we don't have other members of the team who haven't supported, obviously, but that's something that on day one you don't necessarily see, you know, and that's well within Stu's skill set. So certainly from my perspective, it's a wonderful thing that he's got that covered.
Yeah.
But yeah, going back to the HR and finance side of things, they're definitely two areas that, you know, I think we've managed a lot of the burden of that ourselves over the years. We've sought support when we've needed it, but we get pretty good feedback from our staff.
Good. Okay.
So I think we're doing all right.
Yeah, I think just jumping back, I guess, to where the question was about what we've learned. I think HR, finance for sure. Managing cash flow obviously is a part of finance, but certainly just over the time as we've grown, just ensuring you've got enough money available to do salaries and all of that kind of stuff. And historically, we never had issues with people paying us late, but I guess over the last sort of couple of years, you find that has crept in a little bit more.
Is that because of client base, you think, working with like larger and larger clients, or is it maybe from internal processes?
I think it's probably a little bit of that, but probably just more so how the world is at the moment.
The economic climate,
yeah,
definitely.
I think it's probably, well, it's primarily that, I think. But thankfully, kind of Pete manages a lot of that day-to-day cash flow and is fully on top of it. But that's not to say that it's easy all the time. And sometimes when you're expecting to have payment before the payroll needs to be run or whatever, and there have been times in that time when you're like, oh,
That was tight, or that was close to the edge, or
tight. Yeah, we've always been able to do it. Don't get me wrong. And sometimes Pete and I have taken the brunt of those sorts of things as well, where we've not maybe paid ourselves on a month or whatever. But these are just
trials and tribulations.
That's just what it is, isn't it? And you know, you need to make sure your team can pay their mortgages and their rent and can buy their groceries or whatever, and that's number one for us. So we'll always do that and ensure that happens. But I think cash flow is obviously part of it. I think the kind of technical aspect that I sit in, I think it's very easy to kind of not really consider it, but as the world is more online now than it was 13 years ago, and everything's in the cloud. And I think the kind of security element of things and people getting hacked and compromised and all of that kind of stuff, that's all very more important than ever.
Yeah.
And I think that's not something that is to be underestimated. And I think it can be quite easily by a lot of businesses, and we've seen it happen where like clients or prospects get in touch and they're like, oh, my website's been hacked or whatever it is, and people just don't really take care with, you know, passwords and using two-factor authentication and things like that. But these are all things as a business we need to protect ourselves as well. And so I think that's something that we've had to kind of look at. I guess the only other one I'd probably add is recruitment.
Right.
Hiring the right people, ensuring they're the right culture fit, they have the right work ethic. And, you know, there have been times when maybe we didn't hire the right people or right person.
Yeah.
And there are times when we've absolutely knocked it out of the park and we've, you know, made amazing hires. And I think you learn that as you go as well.
Let's just scale back for one sec. We've spoken about the skills which you've had to develop. What, from going to say 5 to 15, what do you think the biggest challenge was for you guys in getting to that level?
I think resilience is definitely the big one. Team resilience, making sure that you've got enough expertise in each area of your service offering that when someone goes on holiday, you have resilience within the team. And that historic, I mean, that is probably the biggest reason why our aspirations for growth continue, because we don't want our senior leaders to be in the same position. We don't want them to be feeling the effects and the brunt that we felt 6 years ago when you've got someone who's out of the business for 2 or 3 weeks. So we had one member of the team who went away on a sabbatical at one point, went and travelled in Asia, very, very lucky person. And we did our best to kind of stem the tide whilst they were away, but it was hard. It's very, very difficult.
Because of the skill gaps, you say resilience as a challenge because of the team structure?
Because you physically don't have enough people to do the work. So bearing in mind, as you know, our offering now, if we were going to go into the roles within the kind of direct client liaison, you've got project management, you've got consultancy, you've got SEO talent, you've got paid advertising talent, paid social media talent, copywriting, web development, both front end and back end, you know, so you're getting across, and of course designers as well. So you've got all of these individuals already. You're looking at, you know, that's pretty much the entirety of our team if you've got 2 of each of those roles.
Right.
So when someone isn't available, that causes very real challenges for everybody who's left picking up the pieces. And the team are brilliant. You know, we have a very good process in place for planning for holiday, planning for leave. They all communicate really, really well. We're certainly blessed there. But yeah, we don't want the team to have to feel the effects of that as we continue to operate. So growing the team, growing the size means that when there is either someone leaving the business or a holiday coming up, it doesn't have the same impact.
Okay. So how did you overcome that initially? I'm sure it's not at the time a case of let's just hire more people, or was it a case of we just need more people? What was the process behind getting the team more resilient?
I think there's 2 parts to that, isn't there? There is the very real, we need more hours. But then there is a bit
manpower,
of and then there is also a process thing as well. So it's taken, I think we've been through probably 4 different iterations of project management software since we started the business. The one that we now use is fantastic, absolutely brilliant. We wouldn't change it for the world. But it took us a long time to nail that down. And the software that we were using before this app, I've got no problem in saying. So we use Productive now. We used to use one called ClickUp, didn't we? ClickUp was brilliant, but it was quite early on in its development, and they were doing a lot of active development. It was very, very slow. They've since done loads of work, new versions. I'm not in any way diminishing what the product is now, but we were in that sticky stage, and it became clunky. So building resilience for the team, comes across in both in terms of process and communication, making sure we've got a decent platform where everyone can share where they're up to, so that when they're away, someone else can pick up after them. And then, having the hours within the team. And we definitely made that more challenging with the 4-day week.
You guys are doing a 4-day week?
We do.
And how's that been? Well, what was the idea behind it, and how's it been received, and what's it led to subsequently?
I think you can probably speak to where it came from, can't you?
Yeah, it started pre-COVID. I'm an avid Guardian reader. Some people will like me for that. Some people will hate me for that. It's a bit Marmite, isn't it? But there was a lot of articles coming out in the Guardian at the time talking about the merits of the 4-day week. There were some studies that were happening in New Zealand talking about how amazing it was for the culture in the team, how good it was for retention, unsurprisingly. And I've never done this before, but I actually wrote a short white paper for Stu saying, this is what I want to do. I wrote it prior to COVID, but then COVID hit. So it kind of literally just sat on our Google Drive, just waiting until a better time. And it was following the return to work, wasn't it? Return to the office. So during COVID, everybody was working from home. I think we were very, very lucky. This goes back to that discussion about diversifying industries. We had, I'd say, probably 75% of our client base thrived through COVID. 25% really struggled, but obviously that diversification really helped us. So we had some good financial years through COVID. But I think it was an important step when we came back to the office. We wanted to make sure that if we were somewhat mandating it, which we were mandating it, we wanted people to understand that coming to the office was not just because we don't trust you, we want to see what you're doing. It was about trying to realise the benefits of working together, collaboration, which you just can't get. Camaraderie, culture, working with people that you like, you trust, you can look in the eye. And I'm sure it was and still is the same for a lot of businesses, but you get on a video call and you've just got 10 black screens.
Yeah. We had a pretty similar conversation when we were coming back. Obviously, Gary and Steve, the two directors, my dad and my brother, as everybody knows as well, sort of just put it out to the group and said, like, look, what would you guys rather do? Working from home is an option now, hybrid, and we all said collectively we want to be in the office. I mean, as coaches, we have to be in the office anyway because a large part of what we do is face-to-face. We have some clients who are on Zoom or we go to them, but a large part of it is sitting down across the table from each other every week or every other week. So there's that element which we didn't want to lose, going back to the human element and what it is. But then it's also just being in an environment with other people. Like I said, being in a room with people that you like, where if I've got a question, I don't have to book in a Zoom call or book in a meeting or send an email. It's just having that instant interaction and that instant feedback from people. I think we thought as a team collectively that's where we want to go. And I think subsequently, if I'm honest, recruitment has probably been harder since we made that decision because there's a world out there at the moment where people do want different things. And we've adapted from it, so we are more flexible in our approach. But I think the climate out there at the moment is people want certain things. Either they want to work from home full time, or they want hybrid, or they want to be in the office with people, and they're obviously the people that we want to try and attract. But I think it has made recruitment a lot harder because you're trying to find the right people for the right roles that we were talking about outside earlier, but also to fit the culture which you guys are and what we're trying to put out there for us, which is an in-office environment for people for very similar reasons to what you guys just said.
I think that's why the drawer opened and out came the white paper at that moment, because it was a recognition that if we were going to be getting everybody back to the office, and neither Stu or I have got a messiah complex, but we're sat there, we know that it isn't right. It's certainly not right for our business. There are going to be some people who absolutely thrive working from a home environment, and I totally get the benefits of being able to do it. But we knew that if we were going to be asking people to come back to the office, we needed to sweeten that deal, because if we didn't, they were going to be interested in looking at alternative options.
Right.
So the 4-day week came out of the drawer at that point, and then we looked at the hybrid working hours as well.
Yeah, we call it hybrid working hours, but it's basically you can set the hours that you do, but you stick to them, essentially.
Right.
So if you said, oh, I want to work 8 till half 4, you just say, well, I'll do 8 till half 4, 4 days a week, and that's what you do. Or you could come to us and say, well, I want to do 7 till half 3, and you can do that as well. So it's just some flexibility over what your agreed work hours are. But we added that, and I think with 4-day week and adding that at the same time, it would just became the amount of hours Pete and I have spent talking about the 4-day week and what we call hybrid hours.
Yeah.
I couldn't tell you how many hours, how many days we've spent talking about it, because it brings up a whole lot of just issues that you don't consider. Some you do, but others that only appear when you actually roll it out and someone's like, oh, well, what happens if I want to do this or whatever? And
Can you give me an example?
just everyone wanting Friday off work, I
Right,
guess would be
okay.
one. Like, that's an easy one, I guess.
Oh, I suppose you say a 4-day. On my head instantly went Monday to Thursday, but I suppose it doesn't matter if they set their own hours, right? Yeah.
So, like, we didn't want...
You can't have everybody off on a Friday. I suppose.
We didn't want to close the business on a Friday, but immediately everyone's like, well, I want Friday off work. And then, like, when it's like, well, if they're getting Friday off work, I want Friday off work. So we had those sorts of teething issues. You have issues where, like, the office cleared out at 3:30 and we're actually open till 5. And it's just like, well, we need someone to be there to answer the phone still. So it came with tens of issues that you just don't really foresee.
Right.
And it's been very difficult, but I think it's really helped to make the culture what it is today, because everyone loves doing it. They love having their day off, whether it's, me time, whether it's time with my partner, whether it's time with my child, or just time to do a hobby.
Housework or whatever it is.
Get loaded up with housework, But it's used however you see fit.
Yeah.
And it's nice for a lot of people. So where we've kind of ended up, just to kind of summarise that bit, is that we allow people to have Monday or Friday off.
Right.
So what we wanted to do, because what we also found was we had a bit of a split where some people had Wednesday or Thursday or Tuesday off. And what that meant is that you never had a day when everyone was in.
Okay.
And that was another problem we didn't foresee, because we'd be like, well, let's do a company meeting and let's do it on Thursday. And then you'd be like, well, 2 people aren't here on a Thursday.
Right, okay.
So that doesn't really work anymore. So where we've kind of ended up is we just have an even split between Monday and Friday. And if one is too high, the people who start their 4-day week are brought up on the side that's lowest. And we've got a good way of doing it now, but it's taken probably since we rolled it out to kind of get to this point.
We're 4 years later.
Yeah, so it's taken a while, and you just don't foresee the issues that it brings, but the positives are massive.
Huge, yeah.
So we're very, we're glad to have done it.
Good. Well, I think that sort of leads us on to the point that I really wanted to focus on, which is culture for you guys. And I think if I reflect on all of these podcasts that I've done so far, one of the main things which comes out when you talk about one of the biggest learnings and what's been the biggest impact on a lot of businesses, the people who've sat across from me have always said it's their team. Having the right team around you, making sure that we're investing heavily into getting the right people. What has culture meant for you? And what's the journey towards having the culture that you've got now been like?
It's actually really difficult to quantify in words.
I think in some respects it's just kind of, if I was working there, what would I want it to be like? And then what I try and do is create that environment for everyone inside it. So I think that's probably part of how I look at it. And I think around that, it's just providing people with the things that they're going to enjoy at work. And, we're nice people. I think that helps, because, you chat to friends and family, and sometimes their bosses aren't very nice, or sometimes they're asked to work late or weekends. And, we have a very clear structure. And quite often we say to people, what's the word that I'm looking for?
We're a lifestyle.
We're a lifestyle. That's the word I'm looking
Lifestyle-led
for. It's lifestyle led. So it's kind of, we don't want people working late or doing overtime or being stressed about work. It's, the people are paramount. And I think that approach has helped to cultivate the culture that we have today. And we do lots of other little bits and bobs, but like a lot of companies do, you do nights out or, away days and Christmas parties and all that kind of stuff. We have some nice things that we do in addition, like a monthly massage, and we do lots of little things. And when you start to sort of add up those little things, they just sort of create the culture that we have today, I think. But
we have a monthly meeting where we get everybody together, And again, for anybody that knows me from my past, they'll know that I'm all about the cheese, and it sounds cheesy,
Right.
but we have a moment where we go around the room and it's essentially mandated, which sounds pretty awful, but once you get into it, it's lovely. And we just ask that everybody come with one or two thank yous.
Right.
So find someone in the team who's done something nice for you, helped you with a project, whatever it might be, and bring it to the team, because we are now of a size we can't possibly know every in and out that's going on within the business, and every single win, every single bit of support. And these moments are genuine. They're really lovely, touching moments that you didn't even see coming. You didn't know that these two people had helped each other or that team had collaborated. And having a public forum for that, even though it is somewhat forced, everybody kind of they've just fallen into it now.
I suppose if people know, sorry to interrupt, if people know they have to do it, then they almost come prepared. So you're almost looking for things throughout your working week or your month. You go, do you know what? In the monthly meeting, I'm going to remember that, and I'm going to thank Darren for the work that he helped me with, or whatever it was.
And we use that monthly meeting as well. It's an hour long. Sometimes it goes on a bit longer because I'm quite the waffler. But there's a lot of, for some individuals in the business, there's a lot of quite heavy stuff. So occasionally, we try and keep the finance stuff to ideally no more than quarterly. But we use it as an opportunity to be as transparent as we can be with the team. And when I say as we can be, I mean pretty brutally. I mean, there's very little that they don't know about how the business is performing, what we've got planned for the future. This morning I was reading through review notes that some of the team have written up, planned for their reviews coming up tomorrow. And one member of the team is telling us how wonderful it is to work for an employer where they feel like they know what the direction is. Brilliant. And they know what we're trying to achieve, and just to appreciate that we've got their best interests at heart, because we genuinely do. We care about every single one of them. Those little things all kind of speak to the culture, but that's kind of why I was saying it's quite hard to put like a particular definition into what our culture is. But lifestyle led is important. We want people to love coming to work, realize that working with our clients is a privilege because we can directly impact their fortunes, particularly with the businesses that are smaller and are growing. You can see very real impacts to people's lives when you're working with them. But also know that when they exit the door, they can switch off. I don't want them thinking about work. They should, be spending time with their family and friends. That's what that time is for. So that when they do come back, and that's the 4-day week thing as well, when they do come back, they're refreshed. And they come in with energy and enthusiasm, and hopefully we've got a great environment to give them what they need. Good technology, good kit, good training opportunities.
Nice place to work. But I think and then recruitment is part of that too, just making sure they're the right fit for the team as well, because sometimes when you interview people you kind of know whether they're going to fit in quite well, and we've made some hires recently and they're just the people are just perfect for what we're looking for. And I was only chatting the other day about what some people find at work is that not everyone gets on. And there's always one or two people that don't really see eye to eye often, and they argue a lot or whatever. But we don't have any of that at Serenity. It's just a pleasure to be there. Everyone gets on. Lots of people are friends outside of work as well, which is great as well. And they give each other lifts to work. And we had someone who had a knee problem, and she was carted to work every day and taken home and taken shopping and taken to the gym and all of those sorts of things. And it's just, these things quite often go on and you don't even know they're going on. And it's only when the thank yous come out at our monthly meeting or when we're in a review and they're like, I really appreciated that this person did this for me. And I just kind of wanted to highlight that. And that stuff happens often, and it happens so often you almost forget that
we take it for granted.
You do, and it almost feels like it's the norm. And when I chat to my wife or friends, and it's like, no, my place are letting people go, and they're just dropping them off, or I'm worried for my job, or I don't get on with this person. It's a constant battle all the time. It's like, we don't have any of that, but you also think it's normal, and it's actually not.
So how does that make you guys feel on a personal level when you've got your employees thanking each other and going the extra mile in these sort of personal circumstances. How does that make you guys feel? Because this is your guys' business, right? You're the ones that have built this from scratch almost. So having that culture and seeing the impact it's having on people personally, how does that make you guys feel personally?
Absolutely, yeah. I certainly, since becoming a dad, which is a few years back now, I find myself kind of on that emotional edge a lot more than I used to be. A lot of things affect me a lot more, particularly at this time of year, Christmas time. But when you've got a group of individuals who are close, who look after each other, who look after us, and they care about us, and you have those little moments of thank yous. It really does get you. Yeah. It gets you, and I actually find that I struggle more and more in a group environment communicating with the team, because I find it harder to keep it together.
Right. Okay.
Than I used to.
Yeah.
I think that the kind of care that you have for the people that work for you, that's just that it continues to grow. Yeah. And I've got this old adage that I've said right from the start, which nothing makes me feel better than paying people. Right. It really is the most wonderful thing in the world to know that people who have come to work with you, that you're able to help them in their lives achieve what they want to achieve, whether that is professionally or personally, and ideally both. But yeah, it's pride. Absolutely.
I would just echo that. I don't think there's much more to say. I think you just feel good about what you've created, and to think we came from two people that were working from home around another job and those sorts of things to the team we've got today, and you get to come into work and this is work. I think that's, not every day's great, but there are many, many good days, and they completely outweigh, the stressful kind of bad days. And that feeling of people feel that same way about coming to work as well. They're not dreading Monday and those sorts of things. I think it's lovely.
Did you envision this? Did you envision this is how the company in how it is today? Did you envision this is where you'd get to, or where you'd want to get to?
I think that you said it earlier, didn't you, about we didn't have aspirations to grow really much beyond where we are today. But you don't really know what it's like when you've got a team of people who get on so well at that time. In those early days, you're just two people, and then you're three people, and then you're four people, and you all get on well enough, and you don't really think about it. And I think as you grow and you try and find other people to sort of fit the jigsaw that you're kind of putting together, it's just nice that we've been able to continue growing and keep that same culture. And there's no doubt that the bigger you are, the harder the culture is to maintain.
No, I agree. But I also think, coming from the conversation of this alone, it's testament to you guys, more importantly, to have that sort of level of culture embedded, and having that level of impact on people as well. Because we speak with so many people, and there's plenty of people out there that don't enjoy going to work for a number of reasons. So actually, to have a culture where that is its foundation, I think is more importantly testament to the both of you, really. And I think that comes across today massively. So you mentioned recruitment being one of them. Let's just try and help people understand where maybe they could recruit better. Because I think a lot of people will just get a load of CVs in. They might pick up the phone and call them before an interview to see if they're still interested. They'll get them in for an interview, and then they'll give them a job, whether they like them or not. Talk me through how you guys bring people on.
The one thing that I will say is that we've never used an agency.
Right.
Which is, again, lots of people who might be watching or listening might be like, well, that's a crazy idea. It's time consuming. But knowing you're in complete control of that process, I think helps, because I'm not a huge advocate of this idea that someone who's coming in is in any way being helped or fed information that will help them present themselves in a different light.
Okay.
If someone's coming to interview and I'm going to ask them what they know about Serenity, I want them to know about Serenity because they've bothered.
They've done their own research.
They've actually prepared themselves. And again, it's absolutely nothing against recruitment agencies at all. They do amazing work. I just don't think they necessarily fit what we're seeking.
Right.
So we've always managed it ourselves. It's labour intensive. And that's not to say that we haven't done it perfectly. We've definitely had individuals that haven't been exactly what we've thought they were. But yeah, I think it's just been a trial and bit of trial and error. But we certainly are a position now where we accept that we would prefer to hire someone who we believe to be a better personality fit for our team over skills.
Okay.
Skills can be learned. That's not a problem. We can create an environment that allows people who might not have exactly what we need at a given time. We can create the environment for them to learn. We've got a great team, experts at what they do that can help people upskill. We can provide training. We have a kind of fixed 5% of time within the office is your personal development time. That's fixed for everybody. So we can create that environment, but getting the right person, that comes through some very interesting questions during interview as well.
Right.
We have some strange questions, don't we?
We have kind of 3 key sections, don't we, really? We have kind of about the person, and we like to learn a bit about who they are first.
Yeah.
And then we have a bit about the role, which is kind of your more standard, tell us about the skills and whatever it is we're hiring for. And then we have a bit that's about us and about, have you researched who we are?
Yeah.
That kind of thing. So that kind of covers off those things quite nicely. And there's bits in there that kind of hopefully put them at ease a little bit, because you want someone to be themselves when they're in an interview, not interview the version of themselves. So I think we try and do that as much as possible. And I think when we interview, or at the moment we're kind of interviewing with some of our management team as well, but we try and show them who we are in that interview, because obviously when you're doing an interview, you're being interviewed as well, because they need to make sure that they're
100%
to come to us too. So, being honest, answering questions honestly, and being who I am day to day with them, I think is important. Same for Pete, same for James or Dolly. So I think interview each other, and as Pete said, really, I think it's just ensuring that they are the right personality fit, right culture fit, right work ethic. Because if you get those bits right, we can teach the skills. And we've had people join us who didn't necessarily even know some of the things that we do, and we've taught them kind of in their first year or 2 years or whatever it might be. Or we've taken people on who are very junior, and they've become very senior in the 2-3 years that they've been with us. So we're quite happy to invest in people, put them on training, give them time, give them the ability to work on real life projects, but feel safe doing that, because we're very supportive in how we work with clients and how the team work, with clients themselves. And we always try and make sure that people are client facing, because I think that helps to upskill them as well. And I think, people don't hide behind like a client manager or whatever. They're the people that deal with the clients, and I think that helps them to kind of upskill. But I think that probably covers off the recruitment process. And I think over the years we've never really outsourced much at all.
Right.
I would say we're very hands-on, aren't we? And it's only recently that we've fully gone in with HR outsourcing. And most of the other things we kind of do ourselves, really. Even for years we didn't even have a cleaner, did we? We did that ourselves. It's just because we're kind of doers, I think, and I think that sets you up for the culture that we have today. I think
what you said. Sorry,
I was just going to say, I think it also depends on what sort of business you want to run. I think it's probably fair to say that we are successful business owners in that we have a business that's been running successfully for 13 years. But
it's just testament in itself, right?
I like to think so. And we do get told that as well. Have we made stonking amounts of money? No.
Right.
That's fine. That's not what we're doing it for. And if that's what we were doing it for, no 4-day week. Some of the things that we want to offer our team, we wouldn't be able to do if it was just about the bottom line. So I think that's part of it as well. I mean, looking for opportunities to be able to we can do this ourselves. We don't need to outsource this. We don't need to spend money on this. We can crack on. Loads of business owners would just be like, that's stupid.
Yeah.
But they're in it
as many billable hours as we can.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. They're in it for a different reason.
Yeah.
And that's fine. We know which lane we're in, and that's the lane that we want to be in. We want to be in a lane where, for Stu and I, we can have that life as well.
Yeah.
I, as I said a minute ago, I've got a daughter. She's 3 years old. I've maybe missed 10 going to bed moments. I've been able to read to her pretty much every day for the last 3 years. There's not many business owners that, new dads or mums that can say that.
Yeah, and to be honest, I think if I look back, and I've said it a bit on this podcast, to be honest, if I look at the reason why I do what I do and the type of work that we do, and especially as a company, don't get me wrong, we've got clients who they want the car, they want the watch, they want the house, they want the financial independence on a grand level. Some people just want to pick the kids up from school at 3 o'clock every day, and they don't have a business that enables them to do that. So actually, when you go back at looking at the work which you do with your clients and look on it with pride because of the life that you're able to give them, that's the win for me. When I'm able to work with a client to get them to be able to pick the kids up, or get them to have dinner, or get them to take an extra 2-3 holidays a year, that's where I look back on the pride of work that we do. I think that's why we do what we do.
Yeah.
From it, so it's very similar to what you guys were saying. So you mentioned that the guys or the team are very clear on where it is you guys are going and the journey you're on. Where are you going? What is in store for Serenity?
Well, certainly growth. We want a larger team. That's very important, and that's not like an aimless. We have an idea of exactly where we want to be in terms of building that resilience that we talked about. We've got an idea of the point in the future that we want to know what our exit looks like, or at least what our exit options are. Mm-hmm. And I mean, I'd certainly say for anybody who's starting off in their journey early as a business owner or entrepreneur, that knowing how you want to get out, I think is probably something that's good to establish very early.
Yeah, I agree.
We don't know exactly what that looks like, but we know when we want to know. And that sounds very strange, but the thing that's great about that is it's focusing us on all of the things that we need to align.
Okay.
So this year, for example, we've been incredibly heavily focused on process. We've become ISO 9001 accredited. A huge amount of work to get the entire team and organisation working towards that accreditation. We've become Cyber Essentials, then Cyber Essentials Plus accredited. Mm-hmm. So there's been a lot of kind of the ministerial work that's gone on in the background. And these are all things that are designed to get us to the stage where if Stu and I weren't available for any reason, can the business continue to function? Because whatever happens, if you are either selling to someone or you are selling to the team, you need to know that the business is going to be able to continue to function without you.
Yeah.
And it gives us I think an amazing amount of confidence that and we've both been on holiday recently, things don't just stop.
Yeah.
The team are great. They're absolutely phenomenal. And that was part of the reason 18 months ago we knew we needed to put in place a senior leadership team. Mm-hmm. We needed leaders who were going to continue to step up, and that continues to move forward at pace as well. But we've got an idea of what that date looks like when we need those answers. What the precise exit looks like isn't necessarily going to be at that time.
Okay.
But we need to know for our own.
No, I agree, and I think a lot of people they have those thoughts too late. A lot of the time, when they're ready to sell, or not even when they're ready to sell, when they're ready to get out, is when they've had enough, or when they just can't do it anymore physically, or for whatever reason they can't do it. That's when they start having those conversations. So very on in a coaching journey with a client is we'll do an alignment, which is very much we'll get them to at least start thinking about when they're going to think about an exit, like you just mentioned, because then a lot of the times they'll look at you almost like, I've only been going 4 or 5 years. Why would I start thinking about an exit now? I'm 27 or I'm 35. Like, I want to go till I'm 60. we'll see how you feel when you're 50, if you still want to do that. But also just having the idea sort of goes back to Stephen Covey's from Start with the End in Mind, from 7 Habits of Highly Effective People. If you don't know where you're going or where you want to end up, the roadmap to get you there becomes even more difficult. So having that clear picture of where it is you want to be, and not necessarily an exact time. It might be a time, it might be a financial figure, it might be a personal goal, but having that clear understanding of what it is you're driving for or where it is you want to be eventually, I think, especially in the work that we do, is incredibly important for people. Let's just touch on marketing for a sec from your guys' perspective. Where do you think a lot of companies go wrong when it comes to marketing?
I'll let you go first.
Yeah. I mean, certainly the place that we tend to start would be looking at their website, but it probably comes a little bit earlier than that when you think about the business, who they are, who their target audience is. And a lot of businesses don't really have that information. So I guess when we get involved, that's probably where we'll look first, and we'll ask questions around the business and what their aspirations are, what they want more of. And as Pete kind of touched on earlier, we're in a business now of helping them operate their business and improve their business and find if it's more opportunities or more awareness, whatever it might be. So we kind of take it right back. So it's not necessarily about like, oh, you need a new website or you need to do SEO or whatever it might be. We'll be looking at the bit underneath all of that. And that might then lead to, you know, a branding workshop, or it might lead to looking at their identity, or it might lead to a website or whatever it might be. But those bits kind of come a bit after. Right. Naturally, like lots of businesses have bad websites, or they don't work well on mobile, and all the sort of stuff you're probably more used to seeing, or they're not doing SEO or writing blog posts or doing social media. Yeah. But I think for us, it always comes back to the bit prior to that. So we always love to go and meet a prospect at their premises. We always like to do it face to face because we can have a little look around while we're there. We can pick their brains on the business and how many people run the business. And
you get a feel for it a lot more as well, right?
You do. And I think that really helps us to work out where they're at and then what it is that we offer them. And then obviously, as well as sort of all of the front-facing marketing stuff that we could be doing for them, as Pete touched on, it might be that they need some software that runs the business instead. And we've had a real influx of doing that kind of work for people probably in the last couple of years as well, where they're like, well, you know, I run my business off my iPad and I use a Google Sheet and I type everything in and then I have to like export it and put it into this bit of software. And it's like, God, you're doing that every day. That's wild. And we could probably write you something that kind of does all of that for you, and you don't have to transfer everything. So I think it's bigger than marketing, I guess, at this point. Right. For us, it started, we built websites and then it probably became what we sort of describe as a bit of a full service kind of marketing consultancy.
Right, okay.
Now it's become a bit more, let's look at the business. And I think that's probably where we're sitting today.
So it's less around the quick wins, if you like. Was it more around quick wins rather than long-term strategy in the early days?
I don't think it's ever been quick wins for us. I think most of our clients have been with us for a very, very long time. But I think certainly going back to what is it that, from a marketing perspective, what is it that businesses should be thinking about? For me, is are you measuring it?
Absolutely.
I mean, like you'd just be astounded the number of organisations who are throwing money and to coin our favourite prime minister, spaffing it up against the wall. Right. You know, it's crazy. Yeah. And that's not to say that it's always easy to measure. You know, there are a variety of mediums that make it very straightforward. I mean, we love working in e-commerce. Yeah. You know, e-commerce is great because if someone's checking out through the website, it's very easy to kind of work out appropriate return on investment. But having a policy in place that specifies every single bit of communication that we're going to produce, how do we measure its impact? And that doesn't have to just be externally. That doesn't have to just be on that kind of B2B side of, you know, we're putting stuff out on LinkedIn. What's it getting back for us through the website, leads, phone calls, form completions, whatever it might be. It also includes internal communication as well. If you're doing exercises with staff and you want to see how that's impacting wellness within the team, whatever it might be.
Right.
These are all things that can be measured. And if you're going to spend time, effort, resources, money, you've got to spend the time deciding how you're going to measure whether it works. And that's when you know what you should be investing in future.
Yeah.
I tell a lot of our clients that marketing specifically it's about pulling levers, measuring each lever, see which one works, pull it.
We use the word test and measure all the time.
And just push the other ones back. And I think it's also important to stipulate as well, the conditions in which we all operate and change. You know, we're living through cost of living crises. You know, we've had COVID in the last few years. We've got wars happening around the world. All these things have very, very real impacts on how you operate a business. So what works now is not necessarily going to work in 5 years. You know, God knows what AI is going to do.
Yeah. How open do you find your clients are when you're suggesting new ways of marketing or suggesting new avenues that you feel they should be going down?
For the larger clients that we work with, when you are working directly with an expert in marketing, so they're normally like head of marketing, marketing director, whatever it might be, they're obviously on board. They get it. They understand it. It's then producing information that's going to get the board of directors to approve on that. When you're working with business owners, it can be a little bit more challenging because it directly affects what's going in their back pocket. And I think it's certainly in certain areas, it's becoming harder and harder to demonstrate value ahead of putting ideas in place. So, for example, if you go back, it's not my area of expertise anymore, but 5-6 years ago, you might be using Meta's platform, Google's platform for advertising. The wealth of information was incredible. What it would tell you before you even start was incredible. They got wise to it. They don't want us doing it anymore. They want to manage it all themselves. They want to automate it themselves. They want you to pump money in and blow it. And so a lot of what we have to do now, because that, you know, they've kind of pulled the drawbridge up, there's a lot of experimentation. And that, when you're working with a business owner, that's quite a difficult conversation to have. You know, we're going to need to spend a little bit of your money to see where it works best and then go from there. And that's not easy to set.
No. And I think measurement is the key from what I've taken away from all of that, really, because we see marketing as it should be an investment. It should be, I put £1 in, I get 10 back. But finding out where that £10 is going to come from which strategy, I think is where a lot of the legwork comes from. And understanding the metrics behind each of the strategies that you are testing. So, you know, I've got a best chance. If I put my money into this strategy, I know that's going to give me the best chance of getting a return on investment from it. And which is why KPIs and test and measuring are two phrases when it comes to marketing that we're heavily using. I think just because it's the only way that the data is going to tell you whether or not what you're doing is going to work, and what a strategy that might work for one company in the same industry sometimes might not be the strategy or the area which is going to work for you. So in order for you to actually figure out what is going to work, we do have to put on the different levers, but we need to make sure we're getting the measurement and the metrics each time to see whether or not it's a lever that's worth holding down.
Yeah, I think it's also important to say as well that if you're in the B2B space and you're not using a CRM system, like start using a CRM system. It blows my mind that organizations of a certain size and organizations that are a lot larger than we are, I mean, we're using a CRM. They don't track this stuff, and you can be sending them high quality leads, and it ends up being attributed to some individual in sales who absolutely has done a sterling job. And, you know, getting the lead is only a very small part of that story. And the sales team do incredible work. But to suggest that there's no attribution to marketing is crazy, you know. So again, working with clients to make sure that they've got back-end systems in place, making sure that we can push leads into a CRM system that the sales team are bought into and are using, and keeping high quality data in there, so that when you are 12 months, 18 months down the line, you can start to say, well, that 150 grand that you spent on marketing
Yeah.
seems like a lot of money, but there was 2.6 mil worth of sales
Yeah.
off of the back of that. And that's not us.
No.
The sales team did an amazing amount of work, but we helped,
Yeah,
you know,
okay.
and then having a fair conversation about how you attribute value.
All right. And how often do you find people actually don't have a CRM in place where they are constantly communicating with potential clients, current clients, whatever it is? Do you find it's a lot of customers or a lot of businesses do have it in place right now, or is it missing from a scary amount of businesses?
I think it is.
I'd say more often than not, there's no CRM. And to touch on where you started, there's no measurement as well. We went to see a prospect recently, didn't we, that was doing ads and didn't have any measurement in place at all.
Right.
So it's almost like you're just pushing money into it and you've got no idea what it's doing. And I think it's pretty wild that people are happy to do that because you've got no clue on where it's working, where it's not working.
Do you think it's because people think that's just what marketing is, though? Like, I'm going to spend this amount. I know the result is going to come from probably 20% of that. 80% is going to be wasted. I'm just going to accept it. Or do you think actually it's naivety? Or
I think it's just probably a little bit of both, maybe. But I think quite often it's like, well, I feel like I should do that, so I'll do it. I don't know, boost some posts on Facebook or whatever it might be. That's something that I can kind of do, and I kind of know what's going on with it somewhat. But they also don't have an idea of what's coming in and where that's come from. And it's, unfortunately, they're not the experts, and quite often it's not their field whatsoever. They're the managing director or they're, the operations person, and marketing's not their forte, but they've been tasked with like, oh, make sure you get some leads through the website. And it's like, well, I don't really know how I'm going to do that, but I've been given something to spend on it, so I'll just spend it. And I think that is probably quite often what it is. So it's not disrespectful to that person. It's just they don't really know. And hopefully they'll have a conversation with someone like us who can, point them in the right direction. Yeah,
well, it goes back to sort of the question that I asked you guys around what skills did you have to learn in the early stages of setting up the business. If you look at, take a plumber for an example, if his skill is plumbing and fitting boilers, he's then got to learn the skill of marketing, then hasn't he? Which is something which a lot of people either find the time to do it is a challenge. It's a very complex topic in the best of times. So actually figuring out what marketing is and how it can work best for your business is a big task in itself a lot of the time, isn't it?
Yeah, and I think that's one of the reasons that we distinguish ourselves from a kind of traditional agency-based model, which I've always personally felt feels quite transactional. It feels very almost like what happens when you work with the legal profession. This idea that that every single hour, every single quarter hour might be billed. You're going to be charged for how many sheets of white paper are going to be printed and God knows what. Our approach being consultative is, and again, I'm not in any way trying to suggest that it is unique. There are lots of agencies that consult, but because that is our primary offering, that's the point where we start. We start with that conversation. There's no preconceptions. We're not going in with packages that we want to sell. All we want to do is sit down and listen to how people are currently running their business, what they're currently struggling with, and how we can help. And we've got a huge toolkit of offerings. I don't think we've got any single client that uses all of our offerings.
Right.
So we're able to pull on the things that are relevant to each individual client.
Diversification again, right?
Absolutely. Yeah.
Brilliant. Well, look, I've got one more question for you guys. So we've gone over a lot today. We've spoken about your challenges and where you've been. What would you say has been, over your 13 years, your biggest win, or the thing that you're most proud of in the last 13 years?
I'm so pleased that you asked this, Matt. I obviously said I was going to do this beforehand, but that's my biggest. You should take a little look. Our brand guidelines is definitely, personally for me, one of our biggest wins. Branding is something that I care very, very deeply about as a somewhat creative.
Yeah.
Our designer, Jesse, and to be fair, a couple of designers in the past have worked with me on this project over a very, very long time.
How long are we talking?
We probably started this over 3 years ago.
Right, okay.
The reason that it's taken so long, it certainly wasn't Jesse's fault. It's nailing me down,
Right.
getting the time with me, and meticulous attention to detail. So we have a 60-odd page brand guideline document there. It speaks to the value and the importance of our culture.
I'll show the camera there just so everybody there can see it.
We've got bespoke photography in there. Our photographer Danielle did all of the photography, Jesse art directing, working with her. It's phenomenal. We've had probably at least half of the team comment and work on the content within it in various different ways. Because again, you know, as Stu and I have kind of said, we're not working directly in the business very much anymore. So this needed to be a process that we were bringing everybody together in.
And it's also them feeling like they're included in these things, right?
Yeah, absolutely. And this for me is not just, and I think this is the really important thing with branding. I think lots of people think that branding is just, again, that external.
The logo, the colour palette.
Yeah, and that's your visual identity. This for me is just as important as a statement for people that work for us, people who are going to work for us in future. When they come in, we give them a copy of this and they know we mean business.
Mm-hmm.
They know that we care about them. We know that we care about our clients. And as I said earlier, that we recognize that it is a privilege to work and support the people that we work with.
Right.
And that's, you know, why we talk about partnerships. You know, every single client that we've got, they're a partner of ours. We've been working with so many of them for 10 plus years. And that's long may it continue. So that for me, it took a very, very long time. It's one of the reasons why our website is so out of date.
Right. This took priority, did it?
It definitely takes priority, as it always should. And then that's a really important point as well. Anybody who's embarking on a web journey, if they've not got brand guidelines, and again, some very large businesses do not have brand guidelines. Mm-hmm. This stuff is important. Get it right. It will save you a huge amount of money long term, because you've got that resource to constantly refer back to. So that's what we'll be doing. Next year, we're going to redo our website. We've now got something that we can refer to that makes sure that the site that we launch next year is going to be on the money. So I can't wait for that to launch. But that would be one of my highlights.
I mean, it's brilliant. I mean, you can just the feel of it and the look of it, everything. You can tell that so much time and attention has gone into it. So, I mean, it is really impactful just being handed it. So I can see what it would be like for a new member of the team. What do you think? What impacts has this had already, do you think?
Well, we did. We talked earlier again about the kind of monthly review meets that we have with the team. We do on the end of those. Normally happens, I'd say, 2 out of 3 sessions. We do a spotlight. Mm-hmm. And we'll ask a member of the team to pick a topic, obviously relevant, not like what's your favourite Stranger Things episode or anything like that. But so we've had some of the team members do like changes in SEO, changes in paid advertising. We've had a member of the team talk us through the importance of our policies. Mm-hmm. You know, so this one was obviously we were going through our brand guidelines, our brand book. We presented this to the entire team. They took away a copy. What changes it made? I hope very little.
Right. Because it was right before?
No, I just hope that it's accurate.
Right. Okay.
People are already living and breathing this culture. So hopefully what they're looking at here is something that aligns with what they're already experiencing.
Confirmation almost?
Yeah. I mean, branding is about, it's about reducing that communication gap. So if you are projecting a certain type of communication, a certain personality, is that what people actually receive when they come into contact with your brand? Mm-hmm. Whether that is purchasing a product from you, whether that's consultancy, whether that's working for you. Mm-hmm. Hopefully, all that will have done is affirmed what they already knew.
Right.
Fingers crossed.
Yeah.
Who knows?
Same for you.
Any other highlights?
I mean, I'm certainly very proud of what's come out. I can't really say I had a great deal of involvement in putting it together. So, you know, I can't take any credit for it. Certainly as far as what's inside it. But I think mine probably somewhat aligns with it in that what I'm proud of is just the business we've created. And I think all the things that we've talked about today, especially when you think about culture and the people we have in the business, I think that's not an easy thing to have done. Mm-hmm. And it's taken us the 13 years to get to where we are today. And we've had several kind of very difficult times during that period, but you know, we're here today. We've got that. We've got a really wonderful team. We're recruiting at the moment. Pete and I still get on really well.
Yeah.
And I think there's something just to be said for that, 100%. I think. And, you know, having a business that you enjoy coming to and you're not desperate to kind of, you know, we've talked about exiting and all that kind of stuff. And you know, we don't have that stuff because we're actually quite happy just doing what we're doing.
Yeah.
So just having that lifestyle business, I think, and the culture that we have is, I think, what I'm most proud of. Because it's wonderful, isn't it?
Yeah, pushing through the challenges of 4-day week as well. That really is like, it's not been an insurmountable challenge. It's not like climbing Everest or anything. But it has been difficult. But it's absolutely been worth it.
Yeah.
You know, for the entire team.
Brilliant, guys. Thank you so much for coming on stage. It's been a great conversation. We unpacked a lot in that, but thank you very much. Thank you for being so open and everything with me. And it's been a pleasure. Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Cheers.
Thank you for having us.
Thank
Thanks.
you.